Hello and welcome to the Football League Weekly Extra, bi-weekly show looking into everything happening in the Championship, League One and League Two. And we do have plenty of news to catch you up upon today. We also have some news that we didn't have time to cover in the past as well. And to start off with, Johannes Thorup has been appointed as the new head coach of Norwich City. So, Rhys, Thorup comes in highly recommended. He was formerly at Nordsjælland, a Danish Superliga team. He has been given a 3-year contract there, with his assistant manager Glenn Riddersholm coming in as well. What do you make of Thorup coming in as manager? Because he has got European experience. He is a very young manager indeed. Are you looking forward to seeing how he does?
Yeah, I am, and this is totally neutral. I'm really looking forward to how he does it at Norwich. He comes on a 3-year deal, and there is a bit of pressure coming into this. I don't think it's a job necessarily where pressure's off. And the reason why I say that is because Norwich are facing their third successive season in the second tier. Now, the ambitions of Norwich's board, the ownership and the fans, the sort of overriding sort of ambition, if you like, is to become consolidated and sustainable within the Premier League. Now, obviously, that's a lot easier said than done. But this sort of managerial appointment is one I really, really like. And the reason that sort of stands out to me is because Thorup enjoys using younger players. That's how he gets his success. Now, if you cast our mind back to when Ben Napper sort of came in at Norwich, he came out and he sort of said, right, okay, we're going to lower the squad age, we're going to use youth players, and that's how we're going to get our success. And you look at players at Norwich, the likes of Jonathan Rowe and Josh Sargent, Gabriel Sara. These are players that could thrive under a manager. Who could thrive under a manager like this, and a manager that can really improve them and could convince them to stay as well.
Yeah, and again, he is a brilliant young manager, as I just said, with European pedigree as well. And, as you just said, you made an emphasis on the youth development as well, which is a tradition at Norwich City as well. But yeah, I mean, he also has a very good assistant manager as well. He was formerly a head coach at a Swedish top flight team. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the team's name, but, his assistant manager has got plenty of pedigree as well. So yeah, this is a signing that I'm really excited by. And again, how do you see, because I know it's very early days, we can't really read too much into anything that's happening at the moment, but how are you feeling about Norwich heading into the new season?
Yeah, I think it's one where it's still very early days. The championship window hasn't officially opened as we sort of sit here now. The window's not officially opened, and they are getting close, or it's subject to EFL sort of regulations that they're close to bringing in Jose Cordoba, who's a centre half who is very highly rated, very young as well. The only thing I have to go against this appointment is that there is an element of risk. And the reason why I say that is because you can't take away what Thorup's done in Denmark. What he's done with Nordsjælland has been absolutely incredible. Got them to a second place finish, and then in his first full season, got them into the Europa Conference qualifying division as well. So you can't take away what he's done. The problem is that he doesn't know the Championship. And now the reason why that's a potential problem is because we all know how competitive that division is. You've got teams coming down who are going to be looking to bounce straight back up. The likes of Burnley and Luton. I don't think Sheffield United necessarily will. You sort of put them into the mix. You then got teams last season who didn't get promoted. You look at it like Leeds, West Brom, Hull, who are also on the up. It's a very competitive oh my goodness me, what's going on? It's a very competitive division next season, and that is the sort of worry and the concern that I have, is the fact that they can't afford to give Thorup time. As I said before, their whole aim is to become a sustainable Premier League club.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the signings that they could potentially be making, because Emiliano Marcondes, a player who was signed to Bournemouth a couple of seasons ago, never really made a breakthrough, but he is 29 years old as well. He has been linked to Norwich as well. So I guess you could call that a bit of Premier League experience right there. But Masonde's only made 18 appearances for Bournemouth, making loans to Scotland and I think it was Denmark as well. So, he's a potential signing as well for Thorup. We'll keep a good eye on how they are doing next season. But on to some news that has broken more recently. Red Bull have announced their investment into Leeds United, and they will become a minority investor. Red Bull's logo will also feature as the front of shirt sponsor next season. So before we go into the logistics of this sponsorship, I guess you can't call it a sponsorship of this new minority investor, when can we start calling Leeds RB Leeds?
Let's start straight away, shall we? From this point forward, it's RB Leeds. Now, the thing is that you look at Leeds as a whole, and there's potential that they're going to have to offload players in order to raise funds. Now, whether this investment sort of stops that or halts that, only time will tell. But they're in a sort of position now, Leeds, where they're going to need to bring players in. They're going to have to look off the field as well in investments in facilities and in training grounds to ensure they're actually going to be able to compete next season. It's a very competitive league. And they got Red Bull come in, who are a huge name in sport, not only in football, also in Formula One. It's a global name, it's a recognised brand, and it's bringing in that much needed capital that they need.
Yeah, and of course, Red Bull already owns RB Leipzig and FC Salzburg, both of which feature the company's logo prominently on their badges. Red Bull, obviously, if you are a Formula One fan, they also own a Formula One racing team. So when talking about club identity, of course, a lot of Leeds fans were worried that their badge could potentially change. Leeds United confirmed that the club's name and logo will remain unchanged despite the new partnership. And let's also quickly venture into Leeds United's official statement. This, of course, comes from their chairman, whose name I'm not going to attempt because I will butcher it. He basically said that he is thrilled about the partnership with Red Bull and recognises that Red Bull respects their club, and he believes that the partnership will help Leeds reach its full competitive potential. The question that I want to throw out there, Rhys, is that, look, regardless of how much money Red Bull have, we all know what Red Bull is. If you were a Leeds fan, would you be worried about your club potentially selling out, or am I being a little too pessimistic?
I would genuinely be very worried. You look at what's happened at RB Leipzig, RB Salzburg. You look in the MLS at the New York Red Bulls. You look in Brazil at Red Bull Bragantino. Probably, again, I've really probably butchered that. But you look at what's happened here, the names change, the identities change. And that's the biggest sort of question mark I'd have as a Leeds fan. I wouldn't want to touch Ellen Road. I wouldn't want to touch the name Leeds United. And as long as those two things don't change, the badge don't change as well. As long as those things stay intact, it's only going to be a positive partnership. The problem is that you look through statements, and there was one made where it talked about they're not going to look at changing the badge or Leeds United's name at this time. And those three words really worried me because they're not ruling it out. We could get 2 years down the line and RB Leeds could genuinely be a real thing that could be happening. So as a Leeds fan, I am concerned. But you've got to see this from both points of view. To get that global name in, to get that recognition, to get the funding that they're going to need able to push for promotion next season, this is a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah, and look, I guess a good argument for this is that Leeds, they've lost a lot of investment anyway due to the fact that they didn't get promoted. And, they were going to have to offload a whole load of players anyway. So I guess if you're a Leeds fan, you're looking at this new investment and thinking to yourself, oh, look, maybe we don't have to offload all these players. Maybe, it could be an exciting season after all. But look, I mean, reading their statement and everything that they said, I do worry about the project's potential because one of the interesting things about this is that, it was called a project by the Leeds United chairman. So I am quite concerned by that and by some of the language used and phrases used as well. Red Bull CEO Oliver Missenslav, again butchered that name. He basically said that the ambition aligned with Leeds United's goals to return to the Premier League, and that they were very optimistic about their future. But yeah, I am concerned. But who knows? Maybe next season we could be, or the season after, sorry, we could be talking about Leeds United in the Premier League. But on to something maybe a little harder to annotate, maybe a little harder to read into. Watford FC aims to raise 17.5 million by selling 10% of the club to supporters and investments. So here are the share purchase details. Fans can buy a minimum of 4 shares, and each share costs £12.44. And of course, the fan ownership, Watford will become one of the first major English clubs to offer true ownership to fans and investors. Part of the funds will be used for recruitment to strengthen Tom Cleverley's playing squad for next season. So I'm not going to have as much to say about this because for me, it's all complicated. Doesn't sound like a good idea anyway, in my opinion. But what do you make about this, Rhys? Because I have weird feelings about owners who ask their fans to invest into clubs. We saw it at Newport a couple of years ago. This doesn't sit right for me, but what do you think about it?
This is really strange to me as well. If you cast your mind back to when they sort of released their sort of their money and their revenue and their profit and their loss documents and everything like that, they posted a pre-tax profit of £24.1 million. That was the largest in the EFL by some distance as well. So I don't understand why they're needing fans and more investors to invest. It doesn't sit right. Now we're in a cost of living crisis as well, and you look at it, go right. It's £12.44, so times that by 4 is around £50, give or take. Not many people have that sort of money spare as well, and it's making me raise questions about the way that the club is operating and the way it's directing and the way it's sort of working as well. Because if you're saying this money is going to be used for recruitment, let's say it's purely on recruitment, and that's what they're trying to raise money for. What's that £24.1 million going towards? Why can't that be used? Now, you look at the Championship and you look at what Watford's ambitions may be, and that £24 million, let's say 25 million, just to round it off, that's 5 really, really good, experienced Championship players that you can get in for that money. I don't understand why they're looking at fans and investors to raise money. That don't sit right. You're on mute, mate.
I can edit that out and post. I've always had problems with the way that Gino Pozzo has operated his squad. I simply think that, he's been a poor owner, twice promoted to the Premier League, relegated from the Premier League a couple of times as well, with 9 different managers since the summer of 2020. If you read into that and if you look at those statistics, it doesn't make for brilliant reading at all. And I would be very concerned if I was a Watford fan. And look, I get that the club is looking to grow and bolster their own revenue streams. But, I simply don't think that they should be asking fans for money. And again, I'm fascinated to hear what Watford fans think because, I'm not too read up on these kind of things. Maybe it's a good thing. But for me, as a neutral, it simply doesn't sit well for me. But anyway, that was the Football League Weekly Extra. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will be back soon with some more news focusing on League One and League Two because we've only really focused on the Championship today. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can follow me at OTB_Benjamin. Where can people follow you, Rhys?
I'm on the bottom right corner here at Rhys Curtis14.
And you can also follow us on Twitter at OverTheBar FB on Instagram as well. And we will be doing live shows again soon. You can find them on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you all soon. Do I have the outro?